Well, I wonder if anyone's out there. Better just close the door because someone's bound to come in, aren't they? That's always the way. Um, yeah, hello. On a Tuesday evening, I've been hard at work as ever here on the History Chap, and yeah, just wondering if anyone's out there because I've got a question for you, and I, could really do with some of my viewers' inputs. Okay, and Con Cheddar, how are you, mate? I think you're the first one on. By the look of it, you're the only one on. So welcome to my little club. Sarah Jane, you're here as well. Nice to see you. Yeah, so anyway, I've been working really hard, folks, on a new video. It's about the Battle of Hong Kong, or some people might call it the Fall of Hong Kong, in December 1941. In fact, actually, the Battle of Hong Kong in 1941 started yesterday. And it's sort of totally overshadowed by Singapore, the fall of Singapore, which numerically was far, far worse. But I thought it's number one, because it's an untold story. Number two, because my sister lives in Hong Kong. And number three, because, well, we're in the middle of the date when the battle was taking place. I'm, as I say, putting a story together about the Battle of Hong Kong, 1941, Japanese invasion of the British colony of Hong Kong. And my vox pops to you folk, okay, is at the minute I've got a script that's running at just over an hour, closing in on 70 minutes actually, and I'm in a quandary. Okay, do I do something I've never ever done before and make basically an hour-long video? Or do I cut it into two halves, so 30, 35 minutes each? So like, the Battle of Hong Kong part 1 and part 2. And if you could give me a moment of your time, if you could type something in the chat and say one long one or 2 half hours or, twos, you can even just put 1 and 2 down. I know what you're talking about. I would be really grateful for some sort of input because I think the input that I get on these live shows tends to be a little bit more thought through than sometimes if I do a poll out there. Poll to my members is fine because you're sort of in the club, but out there you get some, well, not everyone's on the same page. Let's put it that way. So, oh god, Capstick's going for 1 long. Damien's going for two halves. Yeah, this is where I am, guys. Yeah. Is there a right? Is there a wrong? I don't know. Don't know. But it'd be really useful to get some sort of input from yourself. Clon Cheddar's going for 1 long one. Sarah Jane prefers the 1 long one. You say that, Sarah Jane. Does 2 halves keep people more interested? In theory, the intuitive thing is yes. The flip side of that is, or do people forget about the second half, find other things to do in their lives? If you're in the zone, if you're watching it and you're really enjoying it, does an hour feel like half an hour? I don't know. You could do what some other channels do, says Warren. 2 half-hour episodes followed by a full-length episode. Interesting. Didn't realise other channels did that, actually, Warren, so thank you for that little bit of input. Alex Sexton, nice to see you, mate. You prefer the 1 hour? Warren, you prefer longer episodes. So having said that, yeah. I mean, we're also in that bit of a, I was going to say bugger period, but probably YouTube will probably get on me. But we're in that period right in front of Christmas, aren't we? Where other things are crashing into people's social agendas, parties and dinners and all sorts of things. So, yeah, will that impinge on whether people got an hour? Or will it impinge on whether people have got 2 half hours? Don't know. But I'm really looking forward to doing. So we've got Battle of Hong Kong coming up. I'm also working by popular demand through my members section in YouTube here. Florence Nightingale. You'll be getting a Florence Nightingale video this side of Christmas as well. And yeah, got some really exciting stuff coming up for 2026. Going to be sort of going in different directions, but almost doing like mini series. So a couple of weeks on the same subject, not Hong Kong Part 1, Hong Kong Part 2 necessarily, but taking a subject and then saying, okay, that's the battle. Now let's actually look at maybe an autobiography of one of the people or one of the regiments that were involved or one of the ships or several of the ships that were involved, like stories behind the scenes. So you almost go intro through the battle and then a bit of a deep dive. So we're going to be doing that obviously about the Duke of Marlborough in particular and his battles. And that will have a spin-off as well into the War of the Spanish Succession and the British captures of those two well-known holiday destinations. Well, maybe the first one isn't such a holiday destination, but Gibraltar, which still has impact on British history and British-Spanish relations to this day, and also Minorca in the Balearic Islands. Did you know that actually the British captured Minorca, not Majorca, Minorca, the smaller island, during the War of the Spanish Succession, which we were talking about with Duke of Marlborough last week, and they actually held it for nearly 50 years. And of course, famously, the loss of Minorca ends up 50 years later, ends up with Admiral Byng being tried for cowardice and court-martialed for cowardice and executed on the flagship by firing squad on the flagship, on the deck of his own flagship, which is a great story in its own right, isn't it? Maybe not for Admiral Byng, I guess, but yeah. Hang on. So what we're doing here, we've got Alex, I've seen your one. James Beeching, 1 hour better, but is there a midpoint cliffhanger? There's some great stories actually in the fall of Hong Kong or the Battle of Hong Kong. Not least, obviously, bizarrely, the Japanese thought the British would hold out on the mainland longer than they did. But they didn't think they'd hold out on the island as long as they did. Nevertheless, actually, the Japanese were expecting the conquest of Hong Kong to take 2 to 3 months, and it actually took 17 days. So Japs did well and the British didn't. Not so much of General Percival moment here. General Maltby was always told, basically, keep the Japanese tied down as long as possible, but you ain't getting any reinforcements and you ain't going to win because the nearest British base is Singapore. And by then they had their own problems at Singapore and Malaya. So, yeah, fascinating story. But one of the ones I love, the breakout at the end. Do you know there was a breakout? About 50 British servicemen, mainly sailors and intelligence officers, broke out in high-speed torpedo boats, got out of Hong Kong, led by, this is the best bit, a one-legged Chinese admiral. You just couldn't make it up, could you? And actually, he gets shot. They abandon ship. His boat comes under intense fire from the Japanese, and he gets hit in the wrist by a Japanese bullet. So now we have a one-legged, effectively one-armed Chinese general trying to swim to safety, and he actually gives his. Would you believe under those circumstances, he gives his life jacket to one of his bodyguards who actually can't swim. Interesting story. So we've got a couple there. There's also some very poignant stories around prisoners of war coming out of the Hong Kong Battle of Hong Kong as well. Sarah Jane, you did send me an email regards to Marlborough. I'm not sure if I've seen it or not, actually, Sarah Jane. I have to say I've had a fair few. If it's an email, I've been swamped with emails. I've been swamped with comments as well, actually. But anyway, I'll try and look it up again, Sarah Jane. David in Pennsylvania, nice to see you. So, folks, those of you who are joining now, my question to you is: Battle of Hong Kong. Doing the video, basically got the script there. Do we have a 1 hour video or 2 half-hour videos? So, those of you who haven't voted or commented already, if you put a 1 in the chat, that means you want a 1 hour video. If you put a 2 in the chat, it means you want 2 half-hour shows, 35-minute shows. But I'm just looking for a bit of a steer here without doing a poll on YouTube. Okay, this is a bit different. Thought it'd be nice to see you all as well. Tuesday night. Look, blingy weather's been absolutely horrible here. I don't know what it's like in those of you who are in Britain. People like Leslie over in South Carolina. It's probably lovely over there, isn't it, mate? But I stand to be corrected. Leslie, you find the Battle of Hong Kong to be depressing. Well, it's not least it's depressing, I think, because actually, they were on a hiding to nothing, weren't they? William Murphy in Cork, Ireland. Good to see you, mate. James Beeching says the Brits and Canadians very much doomed. Yes, they were, and they had no battle experience. They're up against Japanese troops who've been fighting in China for nearly 2 years, And we had, and don't forget as well, James, we had Indian troops there as well, the Rajputs and the Punjab regiments. But none of them had any experience. In theory, the two most soldierly ones were the Royal Scots and the Middlesex Regiment. But both of them had been in the Far East and hadn't seen any active service with the BEF in France or in North Africa. And of course, they'd been denuded of many of their senior officers and NCOs. Experienced ones have been sent over to the European and North African theatres. So, and they were up against a Japanese force. And it's an interesting battle. I don't want to give it all away. Maybe I could do that one day, just a live talk. How about that? Rather than one of my videos, we actually take a topic and I just deliver it. Won't keep going into all the questions and comments all the time, but actually deliver you a talk without all the slides and that, but talking and taking questions as we go. Lordy, we got 2 2 1 2 2 2 1 2. It's like a sound check, isn't it? 2 1 1. This is cool. Thank you. QA library, issues with part 1 and part 2. YouTube have a habit of hiding one another. I've not had that. I've only done it twice in the past. I did General Gordon and I did Second Opium War or the Battle of the Taku Forts. And I'll be honest, both of them got roughly the same amount of views, roughly the same length of viewing from average people. So my experience, QA library, is that hasn't happened. But I know you do a lot of work with other YouTube channels, and maybe you found that has happened with the people you work with. James Beeching, it would save on editing. Trust me, after last week's debacle, where I edited the Marlborough video and the computer crashed. And when I mean crashed, I mean completely lost the whole lot, even though I've been saving it as I went. So that was an interesting moment. A few choice words were said here, as you can well imagine. Apart from I really need to get an editor so they can have all that hassle. But then I've got to pay them, haven't I? So, I'm a tight ass at the end of the day. Mick of Morden, nice to see you, Mick. You're going for a 2-parter. Oh, and Victory Day Deep State. Why hasn't England given Oliver Cromwell more credit? Good question. Obviously, we're talking Battle of Hong Kong, 1941. So you're a couple of hundred years out. But nevertheless, let me read the rest of your question. Shut down Parliament, deposed a king, brought the Jews back into England. He never lost a battle and was the godfather of the US Constitution. Yeah, interesting. Don't know is the answer to that one, actually. Don't know if any other people believe have a view on why Cromwell. I mean, in fairness, statue of Cromwell outside the Houses of Parliament. So it's not like he's totally forgotten in Britain. I guess actually, because the Puritans were seen as killjoys, and the royal. Don't forget, eventually the monarchy was restored. And what do they say about that whole thing about history is written by the victors? And of course, I guess the royalists under Charles II, restored Charles II, were hardly going to give great credit to Oliver Cromwell. In fact, as someone has put here, they dug up his body and ceremonially cut his head off. But yeah, so don't know. Erin Cheddar, what's going on? I don't know. I'm asking Erin whether we've got. I'm doing a story about the Battle of Hong Kong, 1941. I've got the script done, but I'm looking at the script. It runs for just over an hour, and I'm wondering, do we do a 1 hour show or 2 half-hour shows? It might be really fast, like one released on the Thursday, one released on the Friday. So bang bang. But we could, was it James Beeching who said, could we have a bit of a cliffhanger? Maybe it wasn't you, James, but maybe I'm naming you in vain. But there you go, you get named. Hey, but yeah, so there we go. Leslie's, I think you've said roughly what I was saying there, Leslie, that regicide, along with the restoration, would probably have something to do with why Cromwell's not remembered as much as he is. James Beeching says Cromwell's both a good man, a great man, and a terrible man. Yeah, maybe I'll do Cromwell in the future. You know, some of you were talking on my patrons live show last night about, do I set up a new channel? This isn't a question. Well, I mean, by all means, answer it if you want. But we were talking about, do I set up a new channel that really delves into British history rather than the military stuff all the time, and really History Chap becomes sort of military history since the English Civil War of the Three Kingdoms, and another channel goes further back in history, Anglo-Saxons, medieval, bit of the Civil War, and maybe touches on some other British history that isn't particularly military. So maybe some of the political stuff, you know, Gladstone and Robert Peel and Pitt the Younger, and the, you know, income tax coming into Britain and things like that, Magna Carta. Don't know, might be an interesting one. Just doubled my workload. If you all go and vote yes, I've doubled my workload. But if you like what I'm about and you actually quite enjoy learning about that sort of history, or think it'd be fun to learn that history, that would be quite cool. Joe Noon, nice to see you, mate. How are you? Damien says no to a new channel. Thank you very much, Damien. Wow, we got the chat going here. The reasons for the fall of the Empire of Great Empire. Do you mean a fall of the Empire of Great Britain? Not sure what we've... Lots written about Singapore. Go for a long story. Okay, Forrest Mosby, thank you very much. Don't forget, this is about Hong Kong, not Singapore, that this video is going to be about. I did a Singapore one earlier in the year, and that was, you know, pretty well received. It was reasonably long, but it was one episode, about 40 odd minutes, wasn't it? Yeah, thank you very much. Don't know the answer to Anthony Evelyn. Nice to see you on here, but I don't know the answer to your question about the English and Ireland to overcome the Gallo-Glass Kern combination. Haven't got a clue, mate. Haven't got a clue. Hey, and I've just seen greetings from Belgium. Nice to see you. Hey, by the way, greetings. Let me just share with you something that I was sent this week. And now, of course, I can't see the damn thing for love or money. Oh, here it is. Yeah. What a lovely gift to be sent by one of the viewers, actually. Who are we talking? We are talking Michael Brennan. Want to get his surname right. Michael Brennan in Australia has sent me this fantastic book about the Royal New South Wales Lancers, their history, 1885 to 1985. Isn't it a cracking book? Not sure when it was printed, but it looks reasonably old, doesn't it? The style of it. Let me just see if I can. I'm going to guess. Can't be that old. Well, can't be that ancient in the sense it goes up to 1985, doesn't it? But 1986 it was printed. Oh, okay. So anyway, always nice receiving the odd gift. Had another one about from a descendant of the man who established Sandhurst Military College. So again, you know, probably going to be coming to one of those in the not too distant future as well as subjects. So I've also had the one called The Wolf sent to me. That was really nice as well, by a guy in Switzerland. And Mitch over in Chicago, he sent me a wallet. His wife had been to Mongolia, and he sent me a wallet from Mongolia. There you go. It's nice. Christmas comes early in the life of the History Chap. Will I do anything on Oliver Cromwell? Maybe, but not yet is the answer. And it would all depend whether I end up doing a separate channel or how. If I keep it within the History Chap, okay, I've got to appreciate that a large part of my History Chap fan base, viewer base, whatever you want to call it, they quite like all the Victoriana, a bit of First and Second World War, maybe a bit of Napoleon, Wellington, that sort of thing, a bit of colonial stuff in the 19th century. And so leaping back to Oliver Cromwell could be, for some of those folk, a leap too far. And, you know, don't want to disappoint them by going to a place where they don't want to be, don't want to watch. So I've just got to handle that one carefully, okay? But Oliver Cromwell, I think, would be fascinating. Someone I'd like to cover. Saw a brilliant talk in the Battlefield Trust, which I'm a member of, from a guy in Ireland, Irish historian, actually challenging some of the views of Cromwell's reputation in Ireland. Interesting, very interesting, and ties in actually with some of the discussion we were having in the chat just a while ago. History is written by the victors, and his belief, his research basically says that most of the stuff that slagged Cromwell off in Ireland actually only started appearing with the Restoration, and that Catholic priests and indeed the Catholic Church internationally was saying nothing about Cromwell in Ireland during the time Cromwell was fighting in Ireland. So they weren't necessarily believing, they were accepting that there were atrocities and things, but they were like, yeah, that's what happens in war at the time. It was only with the Restoration that several people started to create pamphlets about what an awful time had happened in Ireland, even though, of course, Ireland was full of Roman Catholic priests who could have been grassing him up. So an interesting one. Just an interesting angle. Don't know if I accept all his research, but I thought it was very interesting to see another perspective on Irish history. Or that piece of Irish history, anyway. Joe Noon, make the other as you say it, not mainstream stories, members only videos as a suggestion. I think I'm with you, Joe. Joe, I'm going to play back what I think you've said, and if you just write yes or no in the comment for me, okay? So I'm thinking that I think you're saying maybe venture into other British history, but do it in the members channel as members only videos, or maybe even members only live shows. Is that what you're saying? Yes or no? Be interested to know. Thank you, mate. Straight back. Well, Victory Day Deep State. Yeah, okay. You love me and I'm the shit. Well, there you go. Haven't had that accolade given to me before, but there you go. I'll take any accolade. Sergeant Mackenzie would be a great little video. Do you have an address to send you stuff? Says Capstick. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Capstick. If you go on my website, www.thehistorychap.com, there is a contact me button. If you go on there, just say, it's me. I want to send you something. I'll send you a postal address. Okay. Greetings from Kohima. Hey, well, did a video about Kohima. Probably about 18 months ago now, 2 years ago, maybe even. Gosh. Yeah, thank you very much, Capstick. Just say it's me, and obviously you're probably not going to call yourself Capstick in there, so just say in the message, it's me, Capstick. I'll know who you are or what you're doing. Any military ghost stories to tell? Says Jan 670. Way, Chetwynd Barracks, Beeston. I've done a video about the Chetwynd Barracks, or not Chetwynd Barracks, the Chilwell munitions factory explosion. So if you go History Chap, Chilwell explosion, it will come up. I love it as a story. One of my favourite pieces of research back in the day, and it hasn't had vast amounts of views. But I think it's quite good. Funny enough, yeah, there are loads of military ghost stories. I was researching for Halloween a whole lot of the haunted RAF or air bases in Britain. That was really interesting. Ended up doing Edge Hill, Civil War. Maybe I should have done the airfields, because there's some cracking ones from the airfields. Some of which are like these urban legends that people say that definitely happen. And then if you research it, it's like there's this woman and she was engaged to a pilot. And, it all sort of, he dies on a mission and she haunts the road since then and all this sort of stuff. And basically, there are no records of this woman ever being at the airbase. There are no records of them ever being engaged or her being there's no records of this woman, basically. So, yeah, some great ghost stories out there, aren't there? Kayla Cheddar, thank you very much indeed. And thank you very much for saying you want to join as a member. That's very kind. Thank you very much. And I'll be looking to enhance the membership offering in the new year. Okay, another project. I really do need a 25-hour day and an 8-day week to do all the things I'd love to do with the History Chap and the channel. Really just giving you guys more and more stories, and some of the big stories that we all know about or we think we know about, but also just going down those rabbit holes and finding a bit like the one-legged admiral at the Battle of Hong Kong. For those of you who haven't heard I've done this whole thing for tonight, I've got doing a video about the Battle of Hong Kong, 1941, Japanese invasion and defeat of the British in Hong Kong. And I've basically got a script that's about an hour long. So the question is, do I do a 1 hour video or do I do two 30-minute videos? So if you haven't voted already, if you put a 1 in the chat, that means a 1 hour video. If you put a 2 in the chat, that means 30 minutes. All right. So if you haven't, that's cool. Hey, James Beeching, you're not the first person to suggest that one. The Battle of Shingle Street. Yeah. A great bit of mythology. Yes, I think it is. I think it is, but it's a great story. So yeah, might be doing that one. Might be doing that one. It's on the list, but it's not near the top. Biggest challenge I have actually is just only X many hours and X many days in a week. So I've got so many stories I'd like to tell you guys, and so many that you have all been sending to me in comments on YouTube, and also you're sending me emails as well with thoughts and sharing family stories and how maybe we could work that into a bigger story and things. There's some absolutely crackers. Really appreciate everything that you do. And all the support you give me, both those of you who are members, those of you who give me a super chat, which is like the donation. I think is it a thanks? Sorry, it's super thanks. I think the icon, from what I remember, it's a heart with a $sign in it. It's like a donation, one-off donation. That's very good. Thank you. Always get those. Leslie, I know you sent me a couple recently, so thank you very much indeed. But also just all you guys who watch my videos, number one, because that's what it's all about. And also who take the time to give me comments and likes and things. And one or two of you I know shot down a few trolls along the way as well, which is always quite cool. Means I don't have to do it. But there we go. What about Hong Kong? Says Victory Day Deep State. You missed the opening part of this live chat. Victory Day Deep State. Sorry, and anyone else. I was just making a comment that I'm doing a video about the Battle of Hong Kong, 1941, December 1941. Actually started 8th of December, so like yesterday. The Japanese rolled across the border in the wake of Pearl Harbor and attacked Hong Kong. British totally undermanned, and the forces they had there weak, and they're up against both numerically superior Japanese forces and battle-hardened Japanese forces. So the fact that the British held out for even 17 days is probably quite amazing. Surrendered on Christmas Day, 1941, although one of the units down at Stanley held out till the following day, to the early hours of the 26th, because they refused to surrender until they received written orders from General Maltby that he had surrendered. So technically, officially the British surrendered on Christmas Day. Technically, there were still some units on Boxing Day. In fact, there was one small unit, garrison, small group, who held out to the 27th. But, they were a bit like sort of, the last hangers on like the Japanese later in the war. You can hardly say that just because they hadn't surrendered that the colony hadn't. So I was asking whether I do a one hour video about the fall of Hong Kong or split it into two 30-minuters. 2 30-minuters means I do get 2 videos, doesn't it? Anyway, it's really good to have all of you on here. So thank you very much. I really wanted just to see if there are any questions, any other thoughts. But otherwise, I'm going to be signing off in a moment, actually, because I want to cook my dinner. And Sarah's out. So I've got the house to myself. Don't tell her. Leslie Devo. Leslie, you always have some cracking stories to share. Yosef from Egypt. Nice to see you. Thank you very much indeed, mate. Thank you. And North Sea Empire and King Canute. I find that part of history fascinating, that whole Anglo-Saxon English history. And I'll go further. The birth of Scotland, and indeed what was happening in Wales at the time. I find that whole period of Dark Ages, but then moving slightly out of the Dark Ages into what people call Anglo-Saxon England, only because we're starting to actually get some written records by then. Obviously very jaundiced views, Anglo-Saxon chronicles written by monks, nowhere near the centre of the action, and doing it as a bit of a G up for the House of Wessex. But nevertheless, it starts to become a fascinating period of history. And the whole bit about King Canute taking the English throne and having that North Sea Empire of Denmark, most of Norway, parts of Sweden, and England. Just 30 years, well, he died just 30 years before the Norman conquest. English history, British history, arguably, European history could have been very different had they remained, or his house remained in control of England, but that didn't happen. So fascinating bit of history. And those of you who are in my patrons club, you know, we invariably do a little piece on in the Anglo-Saxon England and the early Middle Ages. Anthony Evelyn says, were there any servicemen who escaped from Hong Kong? Yes, there were. And I was mentioning it earlier, at least 50 or nearly 60 actually got away from escaped with a Chinese admiral, a one-legged admiral, organized an escape, a breakthrough to Chinese lines or to or mainland China, teamed up with Chinese guerrillas, insurgents, who took them for 4 days through the mountains till they reached Chinese government lines. So yeah, some members of the local Chinese regiment basically sort of went underground, as indeed did some members of the Hong Kong Volunteer Defence Corps as well. So yes, some people did, but very few. Something like 11,000 defenders ended up in POW camps, and there were pretty horrific times were had. Nearly as many Canadians died as POWs as died defending Hong Kong. Significant losses as well for the Royal Scots as POWs as well. Anthony Evelyn, you like early Middle Ages. Cool one. Stephen, 1 hour. Thank you very much indeed, mate. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much from Istanbul. CM Cosmen. Thank you very much indeed. It's quite a nice comment. Michael Foley just mentioned sort of what I was talking about with King Canute in conquering the Danes, conquering England in 1016, and the Normans rocking up in 1066. It's like, it was like a dry run, really, wasn't it? And the whole bit, the other bit that interests me in that period is how Edward the Confessor, the last of the the last king of England from the House of Wessex, how he was already bringing Normans across to England. The Normans weren't totally alien to England in 1066, and indeed some Norman monks were effectively giving intelligence to William of Normandy. Wars of the Roses. Hey, one of my favourites too, Leslie. Funny enough, I have done a talk in the past, a private series, paid for series, which went down really well a few years ago now, just after COVID. It was my first ever venture. That's almost before YouTube took off. And that was, I find that interesting. I think the skullduggery in the Wars of the Roses is unbelievable. And most people in England know nothing about it apart from it's the War of the Roses, the red rose versus the white rose, Yorkshire versus Lancashire, which it wasn't. So most folk don't know a lot. So when I did the series, actually, it was very well received, not least by my British viewers. Yeah. Right, folks. Thank you very much. Anybody who hasn't thrown their two penneth in, Battle of Hong Kong. I've got a video, 1941. Got a script. It's just over an hour long. At the minute, it's running at 70 minutes, actually. Do we do a 1 hour or 70-minute video? So 1 hour video, or do I do 2 half-hour videos? Nearest damn it. And make it a two-parter. If you haven't voted already, please vote. If you have voted already, don't vote again, because I'm too stupid to spot it. And I'll be counting you double. It'll be like a Robert Mugabe election. But if you haven't already, please give us a vote. Charlie Manson, again, in the Patrons show on Monday evenings, we talk a fair bit, don't we, about Scots and English, some of that unsung history. And as you say, rather depends on which side of the border you're brought up on, as to which bits of history you taught about, or which bits which characters are seen as villains and which ones are seen as heroes. And then you go across the border, it's the other way around. Always the way, I guess. Yeah, Jonathan, thank you very much for that. War and Peace, thank you very much indeed. I've just realised War and Peace, yeah, very clever with a name that is. Clon Cheddar, thank you very much indeed. Kayla Cheddar, you related? Don't know. Or is that just pure coincidence? You want 2 hours? Okay, 2 hours. Do you mean 2.5 hours? Yeah, someone just said we like your detailed description of events, and I have to be honest. I actually think that's one of the things that I really bring to the party. And I've played with trying to make shorter videos because obviously in this day and age, a lot of people like short videos because they sort of they've got an attention span of a flea. Especially some of my younger viewers, not all of them. I actually think that part of the differential is the longer stuff. Because interestingly, I don't think many people who make AI videos make them an hour long. Consequently, why I talk to camera quite a lot nowadays as well. I used to always talk to camera because I couldn't find the images. Now I do have access to quite a lot of images, but I like talking to camera because it actually gives you the belief that someone actually gives a monkeys about history is delivering the talk, rather than a voice which may or may not be AI. I started my whole thing as speaking. I still go out speaking to U3As and military history groups and WIs, all sorts of things. And I love being up in front of people. And so partly, speaking to camera is a bit like that. And do I see myself as a little bit of an entertainer as well as an educator? Yeah, I can live with that. Share with you one entertainment fact. Do you know I actually did a stand-up comedy course in Liverpool? Pre-COVID days when I lived in the northwest of England. Thought it'd be a bit of a laugh, pardon the pun, to do that and actually to stretch myself, because stand-up comedy is brutal. And at the end of the 6-week course, the 6th night, we actually did put on a show in Liverpool, of all places, stand-up comedy, and I lived to tell the tale. So God only knows how, so that was good fun. And the Scouse lady who was recording it all managed to she recorded the whole show, and she forgot to turn the sound on. And as one of my Scouse mates who was also on the course said, "Bloody Scousers!" But yeah, so none of us came away. We were given a video of basically a silent movie of all of us, which when you're doing stand-up comedy really isn't much of a souvenir, is it? But there you go. Am I first up at karaoke? No, hate karaoke. Bizarrely, will tell a joke on stage in front of a whole group of Scousers. Wouldn't get up and sing, not if I could help it. I do belt out. I'm willing to give it a belt, but no, I don't do karaoke if I can possibly get away with it. Gang, Scouser here within, you know what I mean. Scousers doing stand-up comedy in Liverpool. Hard work, eh? Everyone in Liverpool is a stand-up comic. Yeah, you got to be on your game, haven't you? AI history videos are nasty work. Anthony Evelyn, I couldn't agree with you more, mate. But then I've got a vested interest, haven't I? But on Facebook. I'm in Ian Knight's Anglo Zulu War group of Facebook, and some of the AI videos that people find of the Anglo-Zulu wars are hilarious. There are Zulus armed with Viking shields, I kid you not, British wearing white pith helmets that look more like sombreros, Rorke's Drift, well, no, it just looks like the farm down the road on fire, really. Absolutely shocking attention to detail. I use AI for a bit of my research, in fairness. It's sort of, I ask it to find me some details. But I have to say, you've got to be ever so careful with AI. Although maybe it's one of those classics, rubbish in, rubbish out. I don't know. But yeah. Joe, you leave out details. Yeah, obviously I like the details, don't I? And I go down the rabbit holes. Some people probably hate it. There'll be people who watch my videos who think, and I do get comments like, we're 9 minutes in and we haven't got to the Battle of Hong Kong yet. And it's like, no, because we're building it up. We're showing you how the British forces were so depleted. We're showing you how the Japanese ever were on the borders of Hong Kong in the first place, what they were hoping to achieve. Some people don't want that. They just want to get straight in. 8th of December, 1941, Japanese come over the border. Bang, 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 bang. And, I'm not that person. But there are videos on YouTube, lots of them, for those folk. And, there's an expression, isn't there, about a broad church. YouTube's a very broad church. If you like little animations of little stick men running around on the screen, they're there. Just not in my videos. But there we go. Anthony, you've got some good historical knowledge, mate. If you remember correctly, a Norman commander bolted from a Welsh raid into Hereford. Yes, known as Ralph the Timid. There you go. Strangely, he got that name after Hereford, after he'd bolted. Yeah, God, Ralph. Anthony, you got some knowledge. I think just as I've answered you that quickly, I've obviously got some as well. You'd hate to be stuck in the lift with me, wouldn't you? Haven't heard of the book called Icebreaker? Leslie, the History Chap is an acquired taste. Yeah, I'd agree with you. A bit like, I don't know, Pink Floyd or something like that, maybe. As if. And James Beeching, I always like some of my regulars to come in and totally ruin it with some stupid comment like Timmy the Timid. Could be. Oh, blimey. Victory Day Deep State. Sorry, I keep getting it wrong. What if Churchill had made a treaty with Hitler? Would Churchill have made a treaty with Hitler? I mean, I'm guessing Lord Halifax possibly would have. Not sure Churchill would have. But nevertheless, I know where you're going. Yeah, what? It's one of the great what ifs in history, isn't it? One of many, but it's one of the more, what ifs in more modern history. If the British had somehow come to an accommodation with Nazi Germany, or the other way around, I guess the Second World War would have ended up being Nazi Germany versus the USSR, because the Americans, no matter, well, maybe the Yanks would have got pulled into it eventually, but they wouldn't have had a British base, would they? Or not if the British were some sort of Vichy state or something like that, or neutral state on the edge of Europe. So I'm guessing the war would have turned east. Would the Germans have won that war? I don't know. Don't know, actually. I think in the olden days I would have said yes, but the more I read about it, the more I query it, and how much American material might have been sent to just the Eastern Front to help the Soviets, just to keep basically, my enemy's enemies, my friends. So maybe Roosevelt or whoever succeeded him would have kept the war going on the Eastern Front, so it didn't involve American troops, and America could almost stand back in some sort of isolation. Don't know. Hey, maybe we should do a members only chat about that one day. I think Tuesday night is not the time to do it on a session where I was asking you all about the battle for your input and help me on the Battle of Hong Kong. Yeah, Charlie, how about a video on the Battle of the Denmark Strait? Good one, Leslie. That'd be quite a good one. Funny enough, we're talking about the Battle of the Denmark Strait last night, weren't we, Charlie, in the Patron show? Because, of course, HMS Prince of Wales had fought the Bismarck in the Battle of the Denmark Strait in the Second World War, prior to being sent over to Singapore to bolster, or so-called bolster, the naval presence and deter the Japanese from invading Malaya. Much good that turned out to be, because it was this week in 1941 that HMS Prince of Wales and HMS Repulse were sunk off the coast of Malaya by Japanese torpedoes, or planes, bombers launching torpedoes. There we go. John Sadler, we started without you. I just came on. It's something I like doing every now and then, John, just bobbing on, seeing who's here, and hopefully all enjoying yourself. Oh, by the way, do you notice disabled the ads? Woo-hoo. Sometimes I forget to do that because I'm so intent on just going live. I forgot to hit it, but tonight I did hit it. So hopefully you've had ad free, however long we've been on. Too long, probably. 43 minutes. Blinking heck, my steak is waiting to be cooked. So, folks, without further ado, as I say earlier, thank you very much indeed for your input. And thank you for everyone for all of your support. However you support me, I'm incredibly grateful. This midlife crisis that I had during COVID, telling history stories, the passion I had at school, has become, well, it's become what I do every day. And it's blinking brilliant. Long may it continue. Certainly with the amount of stories I've got, long may or long it will continue. So thanks everyone. Look out for Hong Kong, Battle of Hong Kong, 1941. It will be coming out on Thursday this week, possibly a part 2 on Friday, all depending. I need to read all your comments in a minute. So thank you very much indeed, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you very, very soon.